Over the years, much of the research that I've been involved with into B2B commerce, B2B buying and selling, has relied in some way or another, at least touched on in some way or another, a really powerful construct out of Japan by the name of the Kano model or Kano model. It was first introduced by a Japanese lecturer and consultant by the name of Noriaki Kano. We've typically referred to it as the Kano model, thus probably butchering the pronunciation. So, with apologies, the Kano model is this really fascinating and pretty easy to understand model on its surface, which is to say that certain dimensions of product experience or maybe a customer experience will either serve as a delighter, like "Wow, I wasn't even expecting that. That's amazing," or as a must-have. It's like, "Well, without this experience would not be acceptable at all." So you think, and by the way, over time, certain dimensions can shift from a delighter to a must-have. So if you think about something like ABS or anti-lock braking systems on a car, there was a time where that was considered somewhat of a luxury items, just like electric windows, for example, if you're old enough to remember the time before electric windows. And over time, we live in a world today where both electric windows and ABS in a car are just, you wouldn't buy one without those things, right? So it's a must-have. Now, what does any of this have to do with B2B commerce? Well, this what happens essentially in this model is it tells you that there are certain things where there's diminishing returns to adding more of that attribute if it's a must-have, and there's increasing returns for adding more of that attribute if it's a delighter. And what happens in B2B commerce is we tend to mix these two things up. So, for example, we tend to think that something like satisfaction, customer satisfaction, operates like a delighter. The more satisfied I am, the more loyal I will become. But that's actually not true. And if you understand how Kano models work and you can understand how customer satisfaction works, then over time, with a lot of data, you can come to recognize that actually something like customer satisfaction operates on the lower of the two Kano curves, not the upper of the two. That is, it works as a must-have. So without satisfaction, I'm taken off. But you can make me satisfied, then super duper satisfied. You know what I am? I'm satisfied. Whether or not I'll buy more, I don't know, but I'm super satisfied. So I'm really, really happy. But just because I'm happy doesn't mean I'm actually going to do more with you. And so when I think of the Kano model, I think of the two sort of lenses that we need to apply. There's certain things that we need to focus on in order to mitigate downside risk. So customer satisfaction, increasing customer satisfaction, what that does is it mitigates downside risk of customer defection. It prevents customers from leaving. However, customer satisfaction does not maximize upside potential. It doesn't increase customer preference. So, this idea between mitigating downside risk and maximizing upside potential, more often than not, we found again and again and again in our research is the attributes that mitigate downside risk are not the same as the attributes that maximize upside potential. And if you believe that they are the same thing, that a satisfaction can do both at the same time, then you just pour more and more money into some things like customer satisfaction, thinking that is going to get you an endless amount of upside potential when it just doesn't work that way. And so I think some of our most interesting findings in all of our research over the years, when you apply sort of Kano dynamics to them, help us understand where are there certain, what are those investments where there's diminishing returns, where after a certain point, you probably don't want to double down there because you've already hit sort of the maximum level of benefit. And in fact, what you want to do is find those other attributes that take us onto the other curve, the delighter curve, that take us to the world of maximizing upside potential. And understanding those two different things and which attributes of a product, which attributes of a service sit on which curve, and then how those things will shift over time, very much like anti-lock braking systems, becomes an incredibly powerful tool for understanding where to spend your next hour, where to spend your next dollar, or any currency for that matter, as you seek to improve things like customer experience and product experience. So if you haven't already, dig into the Kano model and begin. And I think what'll happen is you'll begin to see it showing up in all sorts of places in the work that you're doing on behalf of your company.